Good morning and welcome everyone to the Moneycontrol live stream. You're watching the opening bell and I'm your host Nikki Mirchandani. Indian equities set to open mostly lower ahead of two key triggers: FOMC meeting, overnight and interim budget. That's the big ones that we'll keep an eye out on. Of course, GIFT Nifty at this point of time indicates a negative start coming in for the last week, with losses of around 40 odd points. US stock market ended mixed overnight ahead of the much-awaited US Fed policy outcome due later today. Asian market trading mostly lower in early trade, led by mainland China. Overall, there is a bit of cautiousness across, given that interim budget, the big event, perhaps will be eyed, and the announcement and the reforms, if any, the measures, proposals, all of which, importantly, the themes will be watched out for. FII and DII data, well, let's talk about that. FIIs have sold shares worth around 1,970 odd crores. DIIs, they've bought in equities to an extent of 1,002 odd crore. In terms of earnings specific action, L&T, well, that is reported a number which is slightly weak, but guidance has been very strong for this one. Expect some amount of knee-jerk reaction to the numbers and some bit of recovery, fair bit, that's going to be also eyed in trade. Well, SRF and Voltas have reported in weak numbers, but SRF commentary remains strong. M&M Financial reports in very strong numbers on the asset quality too, seems to be fine. PB Fintech, that's another one for you. It's reported in the first quarterly profit. Of course, the reaction for this one too would be eyed. But through the course of the day, earnings that we like to watch out for include Maruti Suzuki, Sun Pharmaceuticals, Shree Cement, Ambuja Cement, Bank of Baroda, Dabur India, Adani Wilmar, DB Realty, Dixon Technologies, GMR Airports, Godrej Consumer, IRB Infra, along with that Kalyan Jewellers, PVR Inox and Sizzlon Energy. These are some of the names that will be in focus ahead of reporting in their December quarter earnings. But let's get going with strategies, levels and top recommendations of the day with Rajesh Palviya from Axis Securities. Rajesh, good morning. Let's directly start off with the trade setup. What do you make out of it? Immediate support and resistance level. Do you think a bit of profit booking ahead of the key event is out?
Good morning, Nikki. So again, ahead of this big event, volatility is there in market, and again, we have seen that Nifty has witnessed the supply pressure from its major call concentration area of 21,700, 21,800. So I think till these levels are not taken out by the Nifty on the higher side, these levels are likely to act as a resistance area at this moment. So the important support for Nifty now is placed at around 21,350, 21,300. These are the important level on the downside for Nifty. For Nifty, yes, overall structure is bullish. So if you get opportunity to buy around 21,300, it's an opportunity to buy in the Nifty around those level. For Bank Nifty,
Rajesh, before you give in to Bank Nifty, 21,465 mark. That's where the opens have. Actually, it's been sub below that 21,500 mark. Would you still, perhaps suggest recommendation around those levels? 21,300 is the immediate support level. But for the strategy of the day, do you expect the investors to be on the sidelines ahead of the big event actually being out of the way?
No, I think, Nikki, one should try to deploy some of the long trades around those level. Like if you get opportunity in Nifty spot around 21,400, 350 zone, that's a good level again, to initiate some of the buy trade with stop loss of 21,300. So we are waiting for another 5-10 minutes, and I think some support buying action should come from those lower level, as broader market and large cap stocks are still showing good strength. Though banking stocks are under pressure, but if we go with other sectors and large cap stocks that are clearly showing good traction in terms of buying, I think support buying action should come around 21,400, 350 zone.
Okay, 21,350 zone, immediate support level. That's the first one, but a bit of losses coming in for Bank Nifty too. Rajesh, quickly come in on this one as well. What's the strategy for Bank Nifty? A bit of losses there, close to 0.5% out there. So clearly some amount of profit booking in the financial names. What do you make out of it?
Yeah, so Bank Nifty is one notch weaker compared to other indices, and I think if it continues to trade below 45,500, then yes, some more pressure we can see in Bank Nifty, and possibly 45,000 is the immediate level where market will try to get some support buying, as the put concentration area is around 45,000 at this moment. If it breaks below 45,000 level, then it would be a serious unwinding pressure we can see in the Bank Nifty, and possibly Bank Nifty can go down further towards 44,700. That's the next major support area for Bank Nifty. So 45,000 is very critical and important level for today's session as well as for tomorrow's also. So that level needs to watch very closely at this moment. Until the Bank Nifty not crosses above 45,500 or for 600 zone, sell on rise is the strategy for Bank Nifty at this juncture.
Let's quickly address the top gainers and the top losers of the day, just to see where the traction is coming in from. L&T is also another one that I'd want to watch out for because it's the big earning of the day, but that's going to be in just a jiffy. Top gainers, Tata Motors, Adani Ports and ONGC. Well, these are some of the top gainers that you have on the screen. Coal India, NTPC and TCS. Another top gainers there right on your screen, right? Bajaj Finserv, Reliance and BPCL. So a bit of support being lent in by Reliance, which is the index heavyweight. So clearly, on back of that, the losses at least will be capped because the index heavyweight right now seems to be in the fine fettle. Let's talk about the top losers. Top losers, we're looking at L&T. That's the top losers out there. Well, Titan, ICICI Bank. Along with that, we're also looking at Kotak Mahindra Bank, Axis Bank, Infosys. So it's a bunch of banking names. Along with that, L&T, which is, of course, the top loser of the day. We are going to be addressing in the results in just a jiffy and go to the stocks and news. But Rajesh, L&T, that's the one that I need to watch and probably talk about. The guidance seems to be good. It's a strong one. Earnings, however, have not been very encouraging. So a bit of disappointment, which is crept in there. What do you make out of L&T?
So I think gap down opening, and again now stock is moving towards its 50-day moving average. So I think 34.20 is the immediate support area for the stock. If it breaks below 34.20, then yes, possibly we can see furthermore follow-up selling pressure towards 33.60, 33.50 kind of zone. But overall, if we analyze on the longer term perspective, stock overall seems to be on the bullish side for the long term setup. So I think if you get opportunity near 3400 is a good opportunity again to buy for trading perspective with stop loss of 3360. That's the major important support area for L&T on the downside. But yes, on the higher side, 3550, 3600 are the key supply zone at this moment. Until the stock not crosses those level, it may remain in consolidation for some time. So some more pressure we can see below 3420 in this stock.
All right, Rajesh, also, just adding in some perspective there, at least from the fundamental side, CLSA has perhaps, spoken about their FY24 guidance for L&T. It's raised in the inflows and execution and cut in margins. It says overall it's a positive in 3Q, and two large Middle East gas and social infra capex orders are driving the new order book for the company. It's also spoken about the improving outlook with $75 billion pipeline put together. But also I'd like to chat about Voltas and SRF. Voltas, it's not so cool. 11th quarter of miss coming in for Voltas. But on the other hand, you have M&M Financial Services, which has reported rather steady set of numbers. What do you make out of the two?
So Voltas is showing some bit of recovery from its recent low, and looking at the overall structure, some consolidation action is happening in the stock. Stock is consolidating in range of around 995 to 1040. This is the range. I think if stock is showing good traction after today's opening. If stock manages to cross over 1040, 1045 level, then yes, we can see some short covering action in the stock, and possibly we can see a higher side level towards 1075 to 1080 for Voltas. So those who are already in the trade and holding the position can keep their trailing stop loss towards 1020 to hold the position, and once stock crosses about 1045, they can book some profits around next target of 1070. That's the next level where we can see Voltas to move further higher. M&M Fin, yes, it's struggling. Even in the last month also we have seen some supply pressure, but post this rollover action, some unwinding action on the short side is happening. Now if stocks holds about 285 level, then possibly we can see further more traction on the higher side towards 295 to 300. That's the important critical resistance area for the stock at this near term setup. So 300 is the next target for the stock. Those who have already in the trade can hold the position with stop loss of 282.
PB Fintech, another one. It's reported in Q3 profit at 37 odd crore. It's finally crossed that IPO issue price. It's recorded in the net profit of 37 crore as compared to the losses of 87 crore in the corresponding quarter. So that's clearly the one that we also need to watch out for, right, Rajesh? What do you make out of it? Initiating longs on this one?
See, so a lot of volatility is happening in this stocks. So Policy Bazaar, if we analyze the overall structure, yes, there is a breakout of a previous swing high. And looking at the near-term, short-term structure, yes, one can hold their long position as stock managed to give breakout of its last 5-6 days consolidation zone. So until the stock not breaks below 935, I think one should hold on the long side of trade. Possibly this recovery can continue, and we can see higher targets toward 1020 to 1040 in the continuation of this up move. So keep trailing your stop loss at this moment. 935, 940 is your stop loss to hold long position for PB Fintech or Policy Bazaar. Yeah.
All right, Rajesh, we're going to leave it at that. And thank you so much for taking out the time and having this conversation with us.
Thank you.
All right, let's quickly navigate now to the fundamental side of the story. It is an important day ahead of the two big triggers. What's the scenario likely to be? What kind of strategy now you should be looking at? Let's find the answers out from Sandeep Raina, who's the Executive Vice President Research at Nuvama Professional Clients Group. Morning there.
Hey.
All right, let's start off with the basics first. What do you think the strategy should be? Should we be more at the investor need to be more on the sidelines ahead of the two big triggers, that is FOMC meeting along with that interim budget, which doesn't seem as interim given the expectation of continuity of the present government? That's one. And also themes that one needs to watch out for on the crucial day and on the penultimate day in the run-up of interim budget also.
See, there are two ways to look at this. One is continuity. See, being a fundamental analyst, I don't think so there's any problem with these two events. These events will be a noise which will trigger something just for a week, and then again market will go back to normal. Now, just for example, interim budget. I don't think so there are too many announcements that can happen because government asset is doing so many things on the defense side, on the railway side, on the infra side. Maybe there can be some tweaking. Maybe there can be increase, like there's a news that, defense budget expenditure will be increased. So be it. But we all know that, right? And we know the corporates, the company which are operating this business, they're doing very well and they will continue to do well. So having or saying something incremental will not make a big difference out of it. And again, saying that it will just be a noise. Again, coming to FOMC, I don't think so there is anything that will happen today. This long way for this year. We have more 11 months to go. And yes, there is a buzz that there is a rate card that will happen in 2024. Yes, it will happen, but it will not happen now. And I don't think so in 1 or 2 months we can expect a rate cut because there's so many things happening in the world. And I'm sure the governors will be waiting to understand what is happening right now. So I don't think so it's a very big event given the side if I'm looking for, 1 or 2 years perspective. Yes, if I'm as a trader, then I have to be cautious. Then I should be a little light because I don't know what will happen because there can be a difference of 3 or 2% in the market. And that's a big one for a trader. But for us who are into long-term investing, I don't think so that makes a lot of difference.
Point well taken. Also, the near-term volatility in equities around the union budget has overall been declining in the recent years, especially post the GST implementation. Having said that, let's talk about the sectoral expectation. Which themes essentially that you think would be in focus this time around? Would it be more from the personal income tax angle? Are you looking at the revival in the rural agri demand or the relaunch of PMA, increased spend of affordable housing? What exactly will be in focus for you?
Again, see, as I said, these are all ongoing things. There can't be a 30 or 40% allocation increase. That has never happened. Yes, there can be 5 or 10% allocation increase, which again is a big number. Now, having said that, I think government will continue in terms of doing investments in infra side. And when I say infra, it's a function of road, it's a function of ports, it's a function of defense, railway, and everything. The power sector, which actually needs a lot of money and capital, and in power, specifically renewables. And I think this budget again will be focusing on all those elements. Now, coming to personal finance, I think there's a lot of buzz of saying that income tax slab will be increased. Trust me, again, doesn't matter too much. Maybe you will save some money, but that will not change the dynamics or the direction of the market. These are something which you'll read, and trust me, you'll forget in the next 4 to 5 days, because the impact won't be very strong. The impact of the budget is only in terms of spending the government wants to do on the infra side. And I think that will the focus again. This government has been focusing only on that in the last 10 years. And of course, they have done a little tweaking here and there, but the big picture is investments from the government side. And I think this will lead to private spending coming back, and which actually has happened in last 1 or 2 years, what we can see from the data.
All right. Especially, I'd want to chat about financials and the consumer staples. A bit from the financial side first. Are you expecting what are your expectations from the interim budget when it comes to the financials, NBFC, banks, and just deferring that? I mean, let's just deviating that from a bit. HDFC Bank in the recent past hasn't really done too well. We've seen the stock cracking a bit too much after the earnings have come through. Of course, the feedback across the investor community that we are getting, at least from FII and DII, seems to be a little divergent. But what's your view on the financials?
Okay. Again, it's nothing too related to budget. But overall, if I understand of the banking results, they are not in great shape. See, banking did very well in last 5 to 6 quarters, and we can't expect them to do well every time. Now, if I talk about the problem right now, I think CASA is not increasing. The term deposits are increasing, right? Also, if I look at the credit growth, it's reasonable, but my NIMs are contracting a bit, just 10 or 20 bips. So that is what is happening right now, which is impacting the banks. And now, thing is, they're expensive. They're not cheap. We have to understand right now, if I just look at markets are not very cheap. I'm not saying they're expensive, but they are in the upper band of the expensive bracket, or what we say are the P ratios. Now, having said that, we need to understand that a small mistake also will actually lead to a lot of correction. And that is what is happening in the banking sector. I think it is just that the kind of valuation at what these companies are or these banks are, a small mistake or a small number change also impacts the stock price, and which is happening with most of the banks. And again, it will change again, because in 1 or 2 quarters, when the names will come back, which eventually will, things will change for a good reason. So I'm not worried. But yes, there can be a pause, which is happening of late if you see.
A bit of surprise which is coming from L&T, which of course is the economy facing stock and also bears the good news. The earnings haven't really been very encouraging. You're seeing that stock performance pretty much reflecting the kind of performance thrown out by the company for the December quarter. But it's raised in the revenue and the order inflow guidance. So net, we're looking at stronger outlook commentary coming in from the company. How do you read into it?
See, for any company, results are past. Trust me, that is how we look at it. What is most important is what is the commentary. And more than the commentary, it is important we need to understand when the management comments and the ratio of delivery. That is how you do for every company, right? So basically, that is part of corporate governance also. Now, for L&T, of course, if you listen to the con call and the management commentary, they are talking about very big numbers. And I think that is the reality that will happen in the stock. And for that matter, every infra company will do well. Of course, we need to understand the company has to be in the top bracket when you talk about the numbers in terms of ROCs, in terms of margins, in terms of projects they deliver. So all like that. But I'm saying L&T is the top notch. And I think I'll be a buyer right now in L&T because I know the commentary is very good. Going forward, they'll do even better numbers. It is just a 1 quarter phenomena where the numbers were not that good. They were not bad, by the way. They were just reasonable. And going forward, I think they will do much better.
Do you expect some slowdown to take place typically for the ordering activity due to the elections? How are you reading into it? Do you think the order book per se and thereby the execution and the reflection on the financials perhaps could take a little bit of hit, at least for the next a quarter or so?
Possibly, yes. See, I'll give you two answers for that. And trust me, see, generally what happens in any market that is India, your Jan, Feb, March for the construction companies are very good. And in fact, that is like 40% of their total revenue for the year. So that will not slow down. Now, your question was that due to budget or due to election rather, will there be a slowdown? I would not think that. In fact, I will think the other way around, because government will have to close down their books, their spending by 31st of March. So infra will pick up further. It should not stop.
Railway, defense themes, again, PSU related stocks will be in the limelight on the interim budget day. Overall, what's your scenario? What's your assessment there? Are the valuations a bit too expensive as compared to the historical average? Would you recommend investors perhaps to even enter into these levels ahead of the budget, or you would expect the budget to shape through perhaps the allocation and the trend, and then probably pick up some amount of traction in these counters? How are you?
So I'll divide the entire thing into different sub-segments. Like for banking PSUs, will I enter? I think I will not. Now coming to PSUs which are into infra side, like on the defense side or on the ship side, shipbuilding side, I think I will not be shying away from in terms of investments, like a company like HAL or let's say Moneycontrol. I know they're expensive, but if I look at 5 years horizon or a 7 year horizon, I will not shy away from investing in these kind of companies. But yeah, from the PSU banking side, which are the smaller banks, I think they are very expensive, and maybe I will not get into those stocks.
All right, that's the word coming in. Perhaps I'd also want to chat about Reliance. Disclosures there. It's owned by, the company is owned by RIL, rather the network is owned by RIL. But it has been participating quite some for the last couple of days. Today also we're seeing a fair bit of traction coming in from RIL. What do you make out of it with the Jio Financial Services angle and with RIL put together? Do you expect more uptake coming in for RIL? How do you read into it?
For RIL specifically, for any stock, we should look for 2-3 years history. Now, if I go back 6 to 8 months back, before that 1 year, RIL has given a phenomenal return. And it's just that in last 6 months, I think the stock is kind of stuck in a range. Now, if I just extrapolate this and say that going forward, what will happen? I think it is a stock which will always do well. Yes, there will be lulls of 6-8 months or maybe even more because the stock has done very well before that. And coming specifically to Jio, I think the strategy, we need to understand what it is. Right now, it's not very clear. But knowing that how the management is capable of doing big events or the kind of businesses they have built, which are very, very large, I think Jio also will be doing very well. It's just that we don't know what the expectations are because right now it's not in open.
So in this interim budget, do I agree to the fact that it's a very near-term and a short-term call that I'm asking you, and you'd like to have a rather aerial perspective on this one, but just from a very shorter-term perspective and more from the traders community, which are the themes and the stocks that you like to keep out on your radar in that case?
So you're asking which are the themes I should be looking at?
Yes.
So again, as I said before, it's always infra. So I have to see what the government will talk about on defense, what will talk about ports, what will talk about road infrastructure, because that is what government will talk about, right? And that is where the theme is. Now, coming back, will that impact my cement businesses? Yes, it will. But will it have impact on my consumption? Not really. Or let's say if there is change in the personal finance, yes, FMCG and those or apparel company will do a little better. So that is how we need to understand what the government will say in this. If they're talking about infra, then we have to go for companies which are in infra or maybe allied of infra, which is your cement also. Similarly, if we're talking about personal finances, then maybe FMCG and those companies are something which we should look at. So that is how we have to understand, because that all depends what the government will speak on that day or the FM will speak on that day. Right. But broadly, again, I'll say that these are just noises. Maybe the impact will be for a week, but after that, market comes back to normalcy on bigger trends. That's how we have to look at it if we are going for long-term investing.
Point well taken there, but we're just going to leave it at that. And thank you so much for taking out the time and having this conversation with us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
All right, just reiteration of the management guidance punched into stocks, of course. M&M Financial Services, where the NIM guidance has been revised and lower. SRF, management expects significantly better Q4 of the financial year. L&T has raised in the revenue and the order inflow guidance. DRL, price erosion in US generics market remains benign, and the management expects it to remain that way in the near-term future. Overall, if you look at the trend that we're seeing for L&T, let's pick that up. We've already spoken about it, about the FY24 guidance raised in the inflow and the execution. However, CLSA has also, there is a bit of cut in the margins. That's the one that you need to watch out for L&T. The stock right now is down and out by as much as 5% It has an improving outlook. That's the one that you need to watch out for. But clearly, it is the earnings which is weighing down on the performance of the company. Morgan Stanley says that the execution remains strong. The order activity may see some slowdown due to the election year, and the prospects, however, remain strong. It also talks about the core margin guidance cut which has come true, because of which you're seeing that amount of downtake coming in on your screen due to the timing difference, that is faster completion of legacy jobs and slower ramp up of new jobs. That's weighing down on the financials of the company and also the stock prices per se. Let's talk about M&M Financial Services. If we can pull that up, where the CLSA has it's a good show clearly for M&M Financial Services. Just right at the start we highlighted that CLSA talks about the rebound in NIM and healthy improvement in the asset quality. And after 2 quarters of decline, essentially, the company, or rather M&M Financial Services, is reported in an NIM improvement of 30 basis points sequentially to a number of 6.8. The loan growth remains healthy at 25% year on year, although some signs of slowdown coming in for M&M Financial Services as per CLSA. Other one that I'd also want to talk about is PB Fintech, where the first time, of course, we've spoken about it also with Rajesh about how the stock has been moving, about that issue price. But it's for the first time the company has now swung to net profit to a 37 odd crore number as compared to a loss of nearly 88 odd crore in the corresponding quarter of the previous year. And look at the gains there. It's almost 11% of uptick coming in for PB Fintech. That's clearly the stock of the day. On the upper side, we're seeing big surprise coming in from that name. And what is typically not done well is L&T. So, the spectrum is across and wide there. But let's also talk about Dr. Reddy. The pharma company has registered in an 11% growth in the consolidated net profit. The top line is up as much as 6.6% for this one, and it's driven by the market share gains for the existing products. Clearly, it's the one reflecting well on the screen. You can see some amount of momentum building in on this one as well. What I'd also want to talk about is Nova AgriTech. Well, it's going to be getting listed in just a matter of few minutes from now. The soil health and crop production products maker is set to list on the exchanges, and final issue price has been fixed at a 41 per share. But that's all that we have when it comes to stocks in news. But with this, it's a wrap and goodbye from the entire team who puts this piece together for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please do post your feedback for us in the comment section below. Follow us on the link at the bottom of your screen. And for rest of the updates, stay tuned into moneycontrol.com and Moneycontrol app.